Hello everybody, I'm Tom Beach with Tab Nation, and today we're going to be looking at automating with AutoIT. AutoIT was, back in the day kind of was the programming language for automation. The people who are behind auto hotkeys were kind of like, hey, you should make AutoIT more hotkey friendly kind of discussion. Don't really know, wasn't really there. They said no, so the guys behind auto hotkeys were like, hey, we're going to make our own then, and that's how auto hotkeys came from. Auto hotkeys is basically a fork of AutoIT. Found that very interesting. Because of that, I guess the guys at AutoIT weren't very too happy, so they created their code to be closed source, where auto hotkeys is open source. As far as which one's better, it doesn't really have that big of a difference. I personally like auto hotkeys. I think it's a little bit slightly easier to code, but if you know how to do auto hotkeys, it's pretty easy to learn AutoIT. I do know AutoIT's actually really good when it comes to comms compared to auto hotkeys, but outside of that, I would stick with auto hotkeys. But hey, if you're watching this video, it's probably because you want to check out AutoIT. So we're going to take a look at a few things here with installing it, some hints and tips, and a few examples of basic automation with AutoIT. So the first thing, obviously, is you're going to need to download the AutoIT stuff. Very simple. You can just go to Google, type in AutoIT download, go to the first link here. Now, be careful here. You'll see this download button. This is actually an ad. I made that mistake actually the first time. You are going to be scrolling down until you see software, and it's going to be just the AutoIT full installation, and you click this download. Download will start down at the bottom of your browser. Just run through it like the simple normal installer that you've already probably used in your life. And once that's done, you are good to go. So here's what a file for AutoIT language looks like. It has that little blue circle over a file, which is that kind of little A with a slice in it there. These are called AutoIT files, which when you go to save, you're just going to name it whatever you want, and at the end you're just going to put .au3, not AHK, but AU3, and that is a AutoIT file. Now, these are just the scripts. You can run them just how they are, but if you are going to be sharing your program with somebody who doesn't have AutoIT download it, you are going to need to compile it. So compiling works a lot like AHK, where you're just going to go to your main drive. I have mine downloaded in Program Files x86, and there it is right there, AutoIT 3, first file, AUT2EXE. You're just going to launch that, and you pretty much just walk through this real easy. Browse, what's your script, your source code, so one of these files. What's the destination? You can rename it too if you want. This is what your exe file is going to be. And custom icon file, which would be a ICO file. You can take a picture. There's lots of converters on Google that you can find just by typing in ICO converter to create an icon file for your program that you're going to compile. And then all you got to do is push convert, wait a few seconds, and you got a shareable executable that will run on anybody's computer without AutoIT installed. All right, let's actually start taking some look at the code, shall we? All right. So the first one, I'm not doing anything too crazy in this video. I definitely plan to expand. So if you guys have anything you're curious about doing with AutoIT, definitely hit the comments below, and I'll try to make a video based off what the recommendations are and what path you guys want to take going forward. I presume usually it's browser automation seems to be the most popular, so I'm definitely going to be making those videos. And if you're not a subscriber, definitely subscribe below. Throwing you guys 2 to 3 videos every week. All right, so in auto hotkeys, if you want to create a hotkey, it's pretty much just like F1 with the dots like that. Oh, there we go, or F2. With AutoIT, you're actually going to write HotKeySet, and in parentheses, you're going to put your first commas here, and obviously I'm going to post this code in the description below. The plus symbol stands for Shift D. So this is my hotkey right here, Shift D. Well, when I press Shift D, comma, and then parentheses here, here's where I want it to go in my code. Here's where I want the jump to. So I did one for Shift D and just the letter S. Now, you do, under your hotkeys, put them at the beginning of your script, put while 1, sleep 10, WEnd, which is for while end. You do need to put this there because then it will actually exit out of your script like pretty much instantly. This is kind of just like creating a small little like loop that's constantly waiting to see if you're pressing any of these hotkeys. I was trying to find another way to not have to have this, but for some reason it's like pretty much required, it seems. If you guys know a little better about what's going on with this, definitely let me know. So yeah, once I press one of these hotkeys, it's going to jump down here. So this is kind of like a handler that you see in auto hotkeys. But here you're going to put FUNC for function, and then the name of it, and just close brackets right there, parentheses. So it's going to jump here. First one I'm going to do is I'm going to switch my mouse buttons. So left will become right, right will become left. Why not? Just something fun to try. So we're going to use a run. Pretty much you always have to close everything in parentheses, just heads up, so I don't have to explain that on every line. But this right here, control.exe, main.cpl, this is just going to navigate to the mouse properties control panel. It's going to wait 3 seconds. Obviously, these sleeps you don't really have to put in there. I'm just putting them in there for this video to slow stuff down a little bit so you can see a little bit better of what's going on. And a sleep is just a wait. Wait 3 seconds. You know, it's done in milliseconds. 1 second equals 1,000 milliseconds. And then we're going to WinWaitActive, which is just saying wait for that window to actually be activated before you start doing anything else in the script. This is usually better to make sure you include when you're doing like navigation in a browser, because some sites can take a second or two to load, or if you're running a program that might take a while to load, definitely make sure you're including a WinActive with the title of that window. That way it's not starting to jump around performing other commands when it's still in its loading process. You can also use a sleep too, like I did here, in case sometimes WinActive doesn't work. It will see that the window is activated, but there still might be stuff inside of that window loading. So sometimes you might have to switch between either WinActive or a sleep. And sleep, you just got to play around with getting that timing correct based on your computer. You know, everybody's computer is different. Somebody's slow, some of them are fast. So now we're going to do a send. And a send is basically mimicking you typing on a keyboard. So the explanation here is a Alt. You know, up here we had that plus, which was Shift. But down here we're using Alt+s. That's going to navigate to, in that window control panel, that just moves it to that little radio button, or checkbox, I mean. And it's going to press enter, which is going to check it. And then we're going to be done with the function, so we're just going to put EndFunc. So function starts here, EndFunc's there. If you don't include an EndFunc, it basically thinks like, okay, you're done. It would continue on to this function down here, but if I didn't have one down here, it would just close the script afterwards, because it thinks, oh, well, you're done with the script. I hit the last line with nothing there, just close. So you probably don't want that. I mean, if you do, obviously you just delete those. So let's go ahead and do this first one before we jump to the second one. So what was that? Shift D. Yep. Should probably run it too. Let me make sure that's the only one running. There we go. All right, I'm going to go ahead and press Shift D. Move that. So hands off. It's going to go to that little checkbox and check it, and then close it out for me. There it goes. And now my left click is actually my right click here. So obviously I want to switch that back. Yeah, it's messing me up. Yep, Shift D, wrong button. There we go. Let's switch that back real quick. All right. So the next one we got is just the pressing the S key on my keyboard. It's going to jump down to HotKeyPressed2. Obviously, you can change these names to whatever you want. You could be like, function 1, function 2, or actually, give it a good name, not like what I did here. These are just pretty basic names. So we're jumping down here to function HotKeyPressed2. And this one, I just want to show you how to hold a button down and then release it. So we're using those sends like up above, but we're doing shift and then the word down. And that's basically mimicking you holding it physically down. We're then going to left click, which is just mouse click left, or you can change it to right. And then we're going to do send shift up. This is basically kind of be like a good way to highlight a bunch of text at once. So I'm going to put my mouse cursor right there, and then I'm going to hover down here, and when I press S, it's going to highlight all that stuff for me. Because it did a shift, clicked, boom. That's basically like mass highlighting. Nothing too fancy here, but it's a good start to stuff. All right, let's take a look at the next script I got. Let me close that one out first. All right. So we're going to be doing the same thing here with the hotkey setup, but here I'm going to be using Shift F and Shift G. So the first one, we're going to jump down here. This is just going to be a simple kind of like hello world. So where's that document? Here we go. So I have this document. It's called testing, and it's in just, basic notepad, nothing too crazy. So what we're doing is we are doing option, so like a setting for your script basically, and when title match mode equals 2. You might recognize this pretty easily from any of my AutoHotkey videos you watched, just because I use this a lot. Basically what this is if I were to not include this in my script, I would have to put the full name right here. So it'd have to be testing -- notepad. But I want it to just trigger off the word testing. So match mode is saying that, search part of the window name, and if it matches, that word's in there, you're good. So we're going to WinActivate, means bring it to the front with it named testing. Obviously, if I had like multiple windows open called testing, then I probably don't want to use this when title match. I would probably actually want to use like, hey, I want it to open the testing document that's in Notepad and not the testing document that's in, Word document or something. And you can obviously play around with these, see what works better for you and what doesn't. Once again, when activate, just making sure that that document is pulled to the front. It is the active document testing. And then we're just going to do send hello world and in the function. So nothing crazy. So let's try that out. What was that again? Shift F. Did I run this one? Nope. Here we go. Alright, so I'm just going to put this behind so it's not in the forward, and push Shift F. Pull to front. Hello world. It's pretty fast, so that's what's really cool. I couldn't have pulled that window to the front and typed it that fast. That's why these automation scripts are really good, even for something simple like, a common sentence you use in an email to constantly send. This is a great way to be able to just insert that really quickly. Now this one's going to get a little bit fancier. I think this is where most of you guys are going to be using this kind of stuff with automation. We're going to do a few steps of Google Chrome automating. And so what we're doing here is we're doing option when title match mode 2. Now something I want to point out, I am putting this in every function. I could technically get rid of both of these lines, this one and line 14 here, and just put it at the beginning. Honestly, that's probably the best way to go, to have your options and settings of how your scripts are going to run at the beginning. But I just had put them in here while I was testing out, so it doesn't really matter. Still get the same results. So here we're going to go to Google Chrome, and we're going to search Tab Nation Auto Hotkeys, and then we're going to close the browser. So for this, you could do a run and actually navigate to where your Chrome executable is, then put your website that you want to go to in there. Honestly, I don't like doing this way just because you have to put this full path here. I prefer to just do a shell execute, and there all I have to do now is put chrome.exe. I don't have to put the full file path. Now obviously if you're trying to launch like a Word document or something, you're going to go with run. But if you're running just a program, shell execute should do just fine for you. I like this a lot better when I can use it. So we're going to jump to google.com right there. And then you can put some settings in there. So I want it to open in a new window. That way if I had Chrome open, I don't want it open in a new tab. I want a new window. And then I want to start it in full screen, versus whatever my normal setting size is. Let's go full screen on this new window for some reason. So all you got to do here really for the settings is just put 2 minus signs in between each thing. And then wherever there's a space, you put that there. So it's -- new - window. And then for my next setting, I want -- start - full screen. So yeah. We'll sleep for 5 seconds just because a browser sometimes can take a few seconds to spawn open. Plus, I want you guys to see what's going on a little better. We are going to send Tab Nation, and then in these brackets, we put enter. Now, if I had got rid of these brackets, it would have actually typed out the word enter. Obviously, I don't want that. I want to actually physically push or mimic physically pushing the enter key. So, enter's there. We'll sleep another 5 seconds. Then we're going to close it. So because I have Win title match mode up there, as long as that window just contains Tab Nation, which it will because we're doing a search for Tab Nation, it's going to close it. And we're just going to have a message box open that lets me know that it's done. So with the message boxes, the way those work is just MSG box, and in parentheses you're going to put 0. That's just your normal like OK. You can find those. I'll include this in the link below or the description below. There's different kind of message boxes you can have. Where are they? Right here. So I'm using 0, which is just all it has is an OK button. But you can put a 1 for OK cancel, 3 for yes no cancel, and so on. So I'll make sure to include this in case you guys want to have different types of message boxes. So we're going to put the title here, and I just put title here. We can name it whatever we want. Then what you want your message box to actually say, which I'm just putting Chrome window has been closed. And then a timeout of 10 seconds, which just means if I don't respond to that window, whether I close it or push the OK button, 10 seconds later, it's just going to automatically close it for me. You don't have to include a time. You can leave it blank, and it'll stay open until the user actually manually closes it. And then we end the function. All right, let's try this one out. What was that again? Shift G. Shift G, where's Shift? It's hard to see over my microphone. So Shift G, it opened Chrome. It's waiting 5 seconds. It's going to type in that Tab Nation auto hotkey. Pressed enter. Wait another 5 seconds. And there it goes. It closed down. And as you see, we got the little message box here. It says title here. Chrome window has been closed. So it's doing that 10-second countdown. I could just push OK and close it, but after 10 seconds, it auto-closed. Now, something I learned that I thought was really interesting that can sometimes be a little annoying with AutoIT is handling errors. So in auto hotkeys, if there is a command I type in and I somehow mess it up or I forget to put a variable in there, so let's say message box, right? Let's delete this 10. So normally if I had this blank, I should delete this comma too right here. So it would be like that. But let's leave that comma in there. So this is technically not correct. This is not correct. Auto hotkeys would tell you that as soon as you try to launch the script. It'll say, hey, you're missing something here or there. AutoIT won't do that always. Sometimes it will actually run until it hits that line of code, and then it will error for you. So let's run this again and watch what happens. I keep forgetting what it was. Shift G. So we have an error in my code, but look, it's still running. 5 seconds, type in Tab Nation. 5 seconds, it's going to close, but then when it hits that message box line, it throws that error. Now it's telling me that I'm missing something there. And it's honestly not very descriptive. In AutoHotkeys, it's a lot better. At least here it tells you the line, but it doesn't tell you exactly what's going on. It just says phase error. It basically can't complete that function call. So AutoIT's pretty cool. It does a lot of stuff, but the error handling, I could see it definitely driving me a bit nuts when there's a mistake in my code and trying to figure it out. If you guys know any hints or tips, I haven't tried looking at if there's any IDEs, like text editors, for specifically AutoIT that might be able to actually find these errors before you launch them, kind of like just to run it in the IDE. So I'm not really sure. I'd be curious to find out. All right, like I said, hit me up in the comments below with any questions you have on my code or what you want to see the next video be in AutoIT. Definitely check my AutoHotkey stuff out. This is all very similar, mostly because it is a fork from the original AutoIT. So, yeah, I'll see you guys on the next video. Thank you.